Hello and welcome to apparently Stone Cold Suns, the World-Herald's WWE podcast. This is the Half Court Press. I'm Jimmy Watkins, the Nebraska basketball beat writer. He's Joel Lorenzi, the Creighton basketball beat writer, and he wants to suplex me because
they gave me more moves in my comments.
Okay, he wants to suplex me.
I need a wrestler name, dog. I really should have been The Rock, but
tweet Joel with who his wrestler name should be. That's at JX Lorenzi. The reason why Joel wants to suplex me is because we were supposed to record at 9:30. I'm terrified to look at see what time it is right now. It's probably at least 3 hours past that.
Bro.
It's 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock we're recording now.
And I'm not a morning person. If you know me, you know it was a struggle for me to wake up at 8:30 because this punk told me, hey, we're going to record at 9:30 on Friday. I said, 9:30? You lucky if I'm up at 9:30.
It's been a morning for me. Spoiler alert, this is going to be my last episode. We'll get into that more at the end of the show.
Boom. Jimmy bomb.
It's a bomb, but it's also a tease. You'll find out why later.
Sure.
We'll start with the basketball is what we're here to do, right? Creighton and Nebraska both 2-0. This podcast has never lost a game since it's been under new management.
Yeah.
And they've never beaten anyone impressive either. All of these takes should be taken with a grain of salt. I don't think either one of us have changed. There's nothing can happen in 2 games against mid-major teams that can drastically change what you were thinking during the preseason, I don't think. But Joel, in your limited viewing experience of real live Creighton basketball, what do you think? What are your initial impressions of this team?
Yeah, like you said, my stance hasn't changed, right? And after that first game, like I had some real – I'm not going to say like I had a gang of people in my comments. There's really only 1 or 2 people who clearly weren't a fan of what I wrote. But
okay.
I don't think people understand. Like, I don't work for the team. I work for the Omaha World-Herald. And so I just wrote what happened. And what happened was there are nights where the basketball guys aren't really on your side. And for a team that has talked about improving its shooting mark from last season, which was abysmal, it looked to be the same. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be that for the season. It was clearly a bad night because they showed off the shooting touch the first night. But things didn't go their way on that Monday night game. They went 8 for 34 from 3. So after a certain point, like I think, and I don't remember if I wrote about this in the story or not, but I was talking to somebody about this afterward, and Kaluma ended up leading all scorers with 17 points, right? And he goes 1 for 7 from 3. So I think he has 17 on 17 shots. Now, if he doesn't shoot a single 3, that's 14 on, I'm not a mathematician, but what is that, 10 shots? Which is a great game. So I thought they could have went without a lot of those. And I get, for some of them, obviously you're neck and neck with St. Thomas. So, like, there were, like, 10 minutes left in the game. So some of those shots are, like, momentum shots. Like, you want to take a certain shot because you know how big it would be if it falls. Like, I understand that in the midst of a game. I thought they could have went without some of those shots. And by the end of the night, you're looking at it and you're like 8 for 30, 34. Like, damn. So, obviously, not their night. I didn't say that, Creighton, they're back to their old ways. Like, they can't shoot. Like,
they're bad now.
I don't believe that. And anybody who's read my work to this point knows, like, I'm pretty high on this team. So that wasn't the case. But clearly, everybody ain't going to be a fan of what you write. Right? So
it's true.
Wrote what happened. And then, yesterday they come out and kind of get back to what they showed in the exhibition. They torched. I think they shot 42% from 3, and Trey Alexander was feeling it. I don't know if you watched, but he did his best Jose Alvarado impression. He snuck behind the inbound. I love that, man. I asked him afterward. I was like, Matt gave you the green light to gamble. He's like, well, I don't know about a green light, but I'm gonna try it if I see fit. I think he made a really great read. He was saying that he did it because he saw the coach was talking to the guard that was about to pick up the ball. So he's like, okay, I might as well go for it. I just thought it was a great read, and it was fun to see the kind of Alvarado like sneaking into the inbound. So yeah, I like what I saw yesterday for sure.
That's a calculated risk on his part because if that doesn't work, Mac is in his ass.
Yeah,
in his ass. But it worked. Yeah. So it's a brilliant play.
Worth the risk, I think.
It's a brilliant play. To your point about the shooting, two very different samples in the one game each.
Defense
but that's
too.
like
defense too.
Yeah. why that matters is like we can talk all we want about how, the potential of the individual talent of all the different players on this team. If you can't spread people out, I don't think like it's not that none of that matters, but that advantage is nullified significantly. Like you have to be able to knock down shots at the end of the day. And we're talking about Nebraska or Creighton right now, but not like last night is probably closer to what they're going to be than Monday was. So I don't want to belabor that too much.
Right, yeah.
One of my bigger picture questions after 2 games is, what if Baylor Sharman's just like comfortably the best player on the team? What if Baylor Sharman is the go-to guy when they need a bucket or they need someone to create something? Again, very early, but in that first game, he was kind of that dude, right?
I've thought about that after that first game.
And that sort of like you and I spent a lot of the offseason poo-pooing the like only one ball kind of thing. If the new guy rises above everybody that was already here, that's a little bit of a different equation. I still think it'll be okay.
Yeah.
But that's a bigger adjustment, like seating like all of the hierarchy to him, or most of it, is a bigger adjustment than what I think we anticipated him just kind of fitting in and getting as he can go.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll take me a while to probably admit that he's comfortably the best player. I don't think he is. I think we got to take into account the defensive side, right? And he hasn't been a bad defender. I mean, he's playing the lane.
And we're talking about comfortably best offensive player. We should clarify that.
Because when you look at him, on the defensive end, obviously there isn't a more important player than Kalkbrenner, right, which makes him the best player to me. And he had 24 last night, a career high off literally just being there while guys like Baylor are seeing doubles and just getting attention. So yeah, it would take me a while to maybe he is the best offensive player right now, but I think it's just because of all that he provides. I think in terms of leading scorer, I think it's still up in the air because I think you saw glimpses of what Trey could do yesterday. I mean, he was hot from 3, which is I think what they like to see.
Game changer for him if he can shoot like that consistently.
No doubt. But yeah, I've been surprised, man. I had to have a similar thought process, like, yo, can he be the dude? And I think Mac was asked that in a post game that night, like, should we expect Baylor to be that dude? Because by far he was the best player in that game. Obviously Kalkbrenner was experiencing some sickness and other dudes were just not on, but Baylor hit the 2 most important shots of that game, man. And it's not just the shots he's hitting. I mean, dude is surprising me with the old boards and playing the lanes and stuff like that. Like, I was under the impression that you might have to hide him because of his athleticism on that end and whatnot. But he's pretty smart. He positions himself well. He makes good reads, specifically in the lane, playing hard. He's just doing little stuff that I knew he could do most of, but there's just stuff you'll see, and it's like he's had some like game-changing sequences. So I've really been impressed with him. And this is a guy we were questioning early on. You were questioning early on the mid-major to high-major jump. I think he's obviously they haven't played nobody yet, but he's looked better than most on that team.
The passing is what always, when I was watching him, when I thought, when Nebraska was on his list, and I was talking to him over the summer, I was just watching clips of him. The passing is it's just really fun. And there's a play, I'm trying to remember which game it's from. I think it's from the St. Thomas game, where Kalkbrenner's got a dude sealed on the near side where Baylor has the ball, and he looks at Kalkbrenner. The help defender who's guarding, I think it's Trey in the corner, slides down for like 1 second, and in that 1 second, he zips a pass across the court to Trey in the corner, right in his shooting pocket, and he straps it there. And it's just like, man, that is good stuff right there. That is next level court vision, and like that's not an easy pass. It's not like he doesn't wind up either. He doesn't step into it. He just throws it, and it gets there in a hurry. It's really impressive.
Yeah, he's made some great reads. I think if he has another game like that against Holy Cross, I think it's worth a video breakdown of all the reads he's made through these first 3 games. And I've just really been sold on. I think he has not really compiled on the list in my head. I think he has a top 5 ball fake in the country. Just selling, throwing a pass to one side of the court and just zipping one the other way. Like they've gotten some great looks off just people being scared of him having the ball. Like, it's unbelievable the gravity he has when the ball's in his hands, not just as a shooter but as a passer.
He's an extremely fun player.
Yeah,
an extremely fun player. On the Nebraska side of things, I have people in my Nebraska basketball life who are just happy to be 2-0 for the first time. This is the first time, Joel, they've been 2-0 since Fred took the job in 2019-20. They've lost a bye game every year.
Wow.
I also have people in my Nebraska basketball life who are just so jaded by what's preceded this, 24 wins in 3 seasons, particularly. I think last season was most Nebraska basketball fans' least favorite season to exist in, like, ever. It was just really rough. So they're just firmly entrenched in the I'm not going to be happy until I see ample evidence to show me that I need to be happy. And, like, I don't think that they were world beaters against UNO last night, or I should say Omaha. I got an email about today. We got to say Omaha, not UNO, because they're rebranding. They don't want to be considered. I think it's because it's like University of Nebraska Omaha. They don't want to be affiliated. They want to be their own thing. So I'm gonna try my very best to accommodate that. I respect that. Nebraska didn't look great against Omaha. They didn't look great against Maine. Like, Maine was within 1 point, 15 minutes to go, or how much time it was early in the second half. Maine was raining threes on them. They just switched their defense. You don't want to have it. You don't want to see a team that hasn't won Maine hasn't won a conference tournament game in the America East since 2005. You don't want to see a team like that make you adjust your defense, but they did adjust their defense. They figured it out, and honestly, man, like, we got to agree on a curve here. Like, every bit of progress is important progress for Nebraska. Being 2-0 is in and of itself an accomplishment because they haven't done it before under Fred. Yeah. So that matters. The results, although they're coming against, lesser opponents, they still matter. And it matters for them to build confidence. We're going to see how they look against St. John's. The Derek Walker thing continues to be super murky. Fred went on the pregame radio show yesterday and said that he does expect him to come back this season, which is more information than we had previously. Sure. I had someone tweet me today, like, I heard rumors of a 6-game suspension. I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going on with Derek. I just know that they think he's going to be back soonish. That's the best I can give you. Like, I don't think we'll get to, like, I feel very confident saying he'll be back. I shouldn't say I feel very confident saying anything because I don't know what's going on. I think he'll be back before Big Ten play. I think he'll play during the non-conference, and I think it'll be okay. But on that note, like, one of the biggest impressions for me early, one of my biggest takeaways, this is solely last night. Blaise Keita looked awesome last night. He didn't look awesome against Maine. Fred, during our Wednesday Zoom, and this is something I tweeted during the game, he was doing this thing, Joel, it didn't make any sense. He was, all these Maine dudes, he's way bigger than, and he's like shying away from the contact, like shooting fadeaways, which has never been, I've watched a lot of Blaise, it's never been a thing that he does. He just doesn't do it well, but that's because he doesn't do it. And last night he was shown he's got this mean drop step, and like it's when it happens quick, he's really good with it. He's got a nice soft touch around the rim. He had 12 rebounds, like completely different player. That's a game changer because I was hearing over the summer that Blaise was outplaying Derek Walker, and like Derek was going to still start because he's Derek and everything that he is, he's an institution in the program. But Blaise was outplaying him in the summer. And then something happened. Something changed. I don't know what happened during that Maine game. He didn't look great against Colorado either. I think part of that was the elevation. But last night he looked like Blaise again. And that's, even when Derek comes back, they're still going to need him against the Big Ten slate. You got guys like Zach Edey and Trey Jackson Davis and Hunter Dixon. You need multiple bodies to throw at those guys. Yeah. You just do. So that's really encouraging. CJ Wilcher got it going last night, 21 points, career high for him. They shot the three well for about a half a game, and then they were terrible again in the second half. That's something that just is going to be an ongoing thing. Like those guys, CJ, Casey, Bandamel, these guys who have a proven track record of being moderate volume, good 3-point shooters, they have to make shots for that offense to survive. And now it's St. John's. It's real basketball now. St. John's is an interestingly constructed team.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of talented guys.
Yeah. But I've seen even
not sure how they fit though.
Even in one of the bye games, I saw that the Posh and Curbelo like comfortably coexisted, which is encouraging. I mean, obviously they're playing bye games, but
I mean, that team should. That's a team that could in bye games I could see looking really good because they're going to play super fast. They got a lot of talent, and that can overwhelm a team that's not on your level. I'm interested to see. I kind of want to get bold. I think Nebraska might win that game next week.
Oh my!
I think they might win that game next week, and this is why. I just think that like Nebraska's defense is good enough to make St. John's tap into something that it probably hasn't had to tap. I haven't watched a ton of them yet, but in bye games, typically you don't have to when you want to play the style that they play. They're the number one team in pace last year, played the fastest in the country. They want to do that again this year, obviously. You're not usually pushed that far off your mark, right? You usually get to run your comfort stuff against those teams.
Yeah.
Nebraska's defense is good enough to make them slow down. You have to score on one end for sure, but I just think that when St. John's, I just wonder what happens when you poke them a little bit, like when they get a little bit of pushback, and all the like Andre Curbelo, kind of in Illinois last year, when he was on the court, they were noticeably worse. It was the vibes were off, and I think you could see a similar situation like that next week. We'll see. What do you think? Am I crazy for saying that?
It's an interesting take for sure. I mean, even with the 2-0 start, it's hard for me to bet on Nebraska, especially the Big East. Hey, the Big East has had a wild start. I mean, they haven't. It wasn't pretty that the first game for I think half the teams. Yeah. But I don't think they've lost yet either. At least by the other night, I know they were like the last undefeated league. If St. John is still undefeated, I haven't really kept up with them other than that game. But
right.
I wouldn't bet on Nebraska.
Why not?
But it's an interesting point you make.
Why not?
Because Nebraska is not good. I mean, the talent is still a disparity, but
they're definitely not. The talent disparity exists, but Nebraska's big, man. Like Juwan Gary. Mid-majors. He had 8 offensive rebounds in the first game. He's a monster.
But this is the kind of stuff we talked about.
He's a
monster,
him, right? He was last year when he was playing in the SEC, which for my money has the best athletes in the country.
Sure, yeah.
My guy's averaging like 4 offensive rebounds a game in like 20 minutes. This is not going to stop happening. Juwan Gary's going to keep doing this. He got hurt last night. He jammed his shoulder. Fred said he would have been good to go back in if he felt like he needed him. So that's all good. That guy's a problem for everybody. Everybody they're going to see. He's a problem. Griesel, he's big. He's just really big and he's hard to defend for any guard. Like Derek Walker at Media Days was joking about Griesel's shoulders. Dude's yoked. He's hard to deal with. And the thing, St. John's is going to try to pressure the crap out of him. What the one thing that everyone says about him around the program, you don't speed him up.
Sure.
So,
but if there is someone I want to bother him, it's Posh Alexander.
Yeah, I could see it. I just think the talent disparity. Maybe it's too early in the season for this kind of stuff to start setting in over there, but I do think like there's just a lot of volatile stuff going on over there. Again, not a lot of shooting. Everyone wants to play. Everyone like the Paul kid, Posh Alexander, and Andre Curbelo are going to bed every night thinking, "I'm that dude. I'm him." That's what they put their head on the pillow. That's what they think. And that's going to combust at some point. The coach is in his like if I think it's Mike Anderson. If he doesn't win this year, he's getting fired. There's a lot of combustible elements over there, and you can say the same thing about Nebraska's situation. If Fred doesn't win enough this year, he's going to get fired. I think we all understand that. He just has a more sturdy ecosystem around him. I think, like, Sam, I try not to drinking. I tried to stay away from too much of the culture Kool-Aid drinking this offseason, but, like, being around dude, like, Sam Griesel's a good kid, man. Emmanuel Banamel is, like, he's just like a ray of sunshine.
Sure.
And this stuff matters. Like, basketball is the most people sport that there is. Like, there's something that's like part of the reason why I think we love it is it's just like, it's not just about putting the 5 best dudes on the court together and then you just win. It's not. You have to work together. Everyone depends on each other to do everything. And the personalities matter. Like, the mixture of people matters more in this sport than anything else. And that's why I think they got a chance against St. John's.
Sure. And okay, so I knew I wasn't tripping. St. John's only played that game I was talking about.
Okay.
And Curbelo and Apostolic coexisted very well. David Jones had 21 and 10, and Joel Soriano was the presence.
How many threes did those 3 make combined?
Oh, I haven't looked. But I don't. I'm.
It's gonna get cramped, man. If they have to go half court, I don't like. It's hard for me to picture.
Even still, I don't know. Maybe it's closer than I would think. I just don't see Nebraska beating them.
We'll see.
I'm not leaving it.
Yeah.
I'm not deeming it impossible.
I know where I'm at here. I know where I'm
Sure.
standing. I'm in bold territory.
Yeah, sure.
I think they can win, though.
Okay.
I think they can win. So nothing. Has there been anything besides we talked about Baylor for a little bit? Anything besides that has caught your eye? That is maybe not. Again, we're not changing expectations for anything, but has maybe they made you think about Creighton basketball a little bit differently early on this season?
No, I thought I liked Fred King and his minutes last night.
Sam was hyping up Fred King on Twitter last night, by the way. Sam McEwen.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Our boss.
But no, there was a play. I think he got bumped like right below the free throw line, and he caught it, crossed over in front of his man, and like slammed it down 2-hand. I was like yo, like you're seeing the drastic improvements. I think they were always like Fred is a dude where you put him in the game, and he's trying to put people in that rim like every time, and sometimes he's like abusing his strength so much that like the touch might be a little strong or something, but there's no like make no mistake, like he's looked really good for his size, for his age, and like you could see the flashes of why the staff considers him a future NBA player and why they're confident in him probably taking the reins once Kalkbrenner leaves. And I think one of the bigger things for him has been pick and roll defense, as it is for pretty much every big his size, right? I mean, you could have a dude as dominant as Kofi, but Kofi was never quite the pick and roll defender I think people want him to be. And in terms of just containing and drop, like what Kalkbrenner wins awards off of, quite frankly, there was possessions where I'm like, Fred King looks really good containing right now. Like I saw things that were like, okay, like I see why they like him and why they recruited him. And I just thought he was good in his minutes. I don't even think he played 10 minutes last night, but he had like 8 and 8. And I mean, obviously they're not playing teams with super huge dudes, but like you could tell like what he's getting in the game for. I think barring any injuries, like this is the guy you want with the way he's progressing. I think this is the guy you want to spell Kalkbrenner when you don't want to play him 35 minutes, obviously. So
they're Mac's in a good spot this year, man. There's just like for him to look as, I don't know, as ready, for King to look as ready as he has early. That's just another big. This is another common refrain that I hear from Nebraska folks is like, they don't get breaks like that. Like the freshman that pops earlier than you think. Like, I like Ramel Lloyd. Ramel Lloyd's probably going to redshirt this year. Fred told us after the first game. Yeah. Like, and maybe he was he was asked another question about it the next day, and he was like, well, we're talking about it with his parents, and I think maybe it could have been one of those things where it's like, hey man, do you want to play a bit role or do you want to sit? And he's like, well, I'll take the sit, right? But it just would be nice to have. We saw Jamarcus Lawrence out there last night for extended stretches with Gary out, and he played good team defense. He didn't get any shots up. I will say one small version of that. Denham Dawson is better than I thought. There's more there. He hit an open catch and shoot 3 last night, which is huge for him. Like, that's his ticket to staying on the court consistently. Had a nice crossover and didn't finish the drive, but looked good, looked fluid with the ball in his hands, which was good to see. Put down a nice dunk as well. That's a guy that I think 2 months ago I don't think I expected to be as big a part of the rotation as he is. He is firmly entrenched in it. So that's a nice surprise, but it's not on the same level. Like Denham Dawson fully realized is like a average to above average 3-point shooter who plays good defense and plays super hard and brings energy. That's not like Fred. Like the ceiling on Fred King is just monumentally higher, in my opinion. But Blaze can be. I don't know if he's on that quite that same level, but Blaze can be a similar type guy for Nebraska. He could be really good. Wilhelm looks good early, coming off the knee injury. Had I think 9 and 7 in the opener in like 17 minutes. Still a little foul happy. Well, I think that's just always going to be a thing for him with his aggression. He got teed up there was a tough. What has been your experience? I've just been watching Creighton highlights. Have you gotten any flop techs in your games yet? So we had last night. I think so. Even back to the exhibition, Casey got a flop tech for exaggerated contact on a 3-point shot. He probably should have gotten another one against Maine, to be honest with you. But Fred was freaking out because the game got a little tight for a second in the second half, and this Jaden Marshall kid from Omaha, who's pretty good by the way, got a 4-point play and somebody hit him on a 3. And Fred came running off the bench, like kicking his leg out, like he kicked, and he totally did. And they didn't see it or whatever, they didn't call it. And then maybe 2 minutes later, I think it was J.J. White, the Omaha point guard, dishes to his big man. Wilhelm steps in, tries to take a charge after the pass.
Seen this on Twitter.
And they called him for flopping. And they like maybe exaggerated it a little bit. There was definitely contact there. Yeah. Like it's just very clearly a no call. I'm firmly in the camp of like once the ball's out of the guy's hands, we're not calling any of that stuff. But like a flop tech, like that was it was rough stuff from the refs last night. I know. Go ahead.
I didn't see the clip of this, but somebody did comment on it.
It was rough.
And was like, is the flop, the way they officiate the flop, is that basketball is targeting?
Oh. I always thought the block charge was basketball is targeting, but this can be that too. Like the last thing that we as a basketball viewing public needed was more reasons to stop the game over something super subjective, right? Like, are we? If we ever get to the point where we start reviewing flop techs, I'm quitting. I'm not watching anymore. I can't. We do too much ref stuff in general. Like we need to cool our jets with that stuff. All right. So as alluded to at the beginning of the podcast, this is my last show. I'm as of this coming Monday, I will no longer be employed by the Omaha World-Herald. I am moving to Cleveland, where I grew up. I will be working at cleveland.com. I will be covering a mishmash of a lot of different things. It's called the Rivalry Beats. I will be covering some Michigan, some pro stuff like some Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to find my way to wiggle into the Cavs door and do stuff there. They want me to do some baseball stuff too. I'll stomach it. If I get paid to watch baseball, I'll watch it. But I want that bonus in the check. That's sad, man. I didn't think I'd be this sad to leave again. We had a whole like little work funeral for me at DJ's on Wednesday night, which was DJ's was a freaking zoo on Wednesday, dude. Like multiple people around us left without paying their tab. The waiters, the waiting staff at DJ's is petitioning to end 50-cent wing night because people funeral. Are going crazy. Yeah, it was I don't know about proper. It was a lot going on there, but Joel, man, I'm gonna miss you.
I'm gonna miss you too, dog. And I said when we were at said funeral, I'm like, yo, I'm just gonna save the sappy stuff for
the pod.
And I ended up probably saying more sappy stuff than I thought I would. But man, it's been an honor to work with you, dude. I think I was kind of saying something similar the other night, but I've never had I mean, granted, this is my first job, but I've been an intern, man. I done been in some of the coolest newsrooms in the country.
Yeah.
And, you have been my favorite person to work with. Obviously, we do a lot of work together, but for a guy that spends a lot of his time in Lincoln, like, I have not been closer to anybody here. And like I told you the other day, you're one of my favorite basketball minds. I think the chemistry between us is just outstanding. Like I was saying, if Bron and Wade just called it quits after 1 year, that's what this would be, because it feels like
this is my JJ Barea finals.
Is that what it is?
That also implies that I'm Bron. I don't know how you feel about that.
What?
I'm just drawing further analogies. Maybe this is Dwayne Wade getting his knee drained.
Maybe I want to be Andrew Bynum and just elbow you out the air.
You gonna hurt yourself bowling?
Anyway, it feels like we're cutting to something that was pretty cool, really short. I mean, obviously the pod will go on, but will it be the same without two young dudes? I mean,
I know.
I think that was what was so cool about this, was that we're both young. I mean, Jimmy's relatively young. He's pushing 30.
The Pick Six podcast is like straight up like, I was joking with Z that we need to mail an AARP card to the World-Herald and address it to the Pick Six podcast. I love Dirk, Sam, and Tom, but it is old in there.
100, yeah.
Tom was like hacking a lung the other day on the podcast. I texted Sam. I was like, can we get this man a lozenge? Like, what is happening?
Facts. But yeah, we had something really cool going between a couple of young dudes, and honestly, this could have gone on for as long as we wanted, I think.
I know.
And I can't say that I'm not happy for you, because you get to go back to the crib. You get to cover, pro sports mixed in with a better team in Michigan. And I think that's dope, bro. Like, this is the stuff we talked about since I got here. I mean, not like I'm in a hurry to leave, right? I love my job. But obviously we got aspirations, and you were here longer than me, and you knew the end goal was to, move on up. And you found a great landing spot. I mean, they found you, and you deserve every bit of it, dude. Like, you are a really great writer. You're great at this pod thing. Like, I get to come in here every week and sit on my ass and just have you ask me questions, which I think was the dopest part of this whole thing.
We don't do a ton of prep for this show, I'll be honest.
And Jimmy really facilitates this whole thing. I mean, you guys hear it. He's the one really doing it all.
I say hello and goodbye. I don't know exactly what I do that much.
I do
the LinkedIn. That's right.
But you do ask all the questions, and I'm just sitting back here answering them.
And, but I also know that I can ask you whatever, and you're going to be able to turn it into something coherent, because I trust that you know what you're watching too. So
sure.
I don't know. I feel really attached to this place, which I never ever thought was going to happen coming in here. This is the best job I've ever had. I want to thank everybody that I've worked with here. I love working with Joy. I love working with Dirk, Sam, Evan, Amy, all the rest. Before I go, I do want to tell one Jimmy Fred story that I don't think I've told on the airwaves before.
Okay.
And this was last year after the Indiana game. I went to Bloomington. They lost. They scored like 53 points. It was rough. And after the game, I had Kobe Webster telling me that Zoe was breaking off the plays. I was like, that seems kind of serious. So let's go try to verify that. CJ Wilcher basically told me the same thing. Zoe told me that he didn't think that people could hear him calling the plays. I'm not sure that I believed that. And that was a theme that recurred throughout the year. When stuff looked weird at the end of games, they would say it was a communication issue, air quotes, with the play calling late. I think Bryce McGowan's used that term a couple of times. Anyways, all this stuff happened after I'd already talked to Fred, so I'm like, I don't really want to run with this before I talk to Fred. So I'm like, hey, Fred, I'm texting him on my drive. Chicago is my go-between when I go on Big Ten road trips like that. Hey, Fred, tomorrow after practice or whatever, can I give you a call? Like, some of the guys were saying some stuff that I think I need to run by you. I think we agreed to have a phone call at like noon. When I'm in Chicago and I'm doing work, I go to a Starbucks that's around the corner from my buddy's place. So I'm like, all right, I'll call Fred from the Starbucks bathroom because I won't have anywhere else to go. I go to the bathroom around noon. I call Fred. He doesn't answer. I call him again 15 minutes later. He doesn't answer. I call him 10 minutes later. He doesn't answer.
You in the bathroom the whole time?
I'm in the bathroom the whole time.
Oh, jeez.
We get a knock, knock, knock on the door. Hey, sir, is everything all right in there? I'm like, yep, we're good. Shoo him away. Call Fred. Doesn't answer. Now we're just sitting here waiting. I don't want to blow this man's phone up. He's clearly busy. Another knock on the door. Hey, sir, what's the deal?
Was this a one-time, like, was this like a one-stall bathroom or?
There were 2 gender-neutral bathrooms.
Sure.
But, like, it's one-stop shop. So there are basically 2 opportunities to go to the bathroom in this entire coffee shop. I am occupying one of them with a laptop in my lap, sitting on the toilet.
That's nasty.
I agree.
That's gross.
It's just, hey, this is love of the game stuff.
I'm glad I never touched his laptop. Wow.
This is love of the game stuff right here. So I'm explaining to a Starbucks employee through the door. I didn't want to open the door because I feel like that would have opened the window for them to kick me out of the bathroom, and I'm not punting on this opportunity to have this call. So I explained to them that I have something going on, that I have a phone call that was supposed to happen at this time, and it's not happening, but I know it's going to happen, so I'm going to stay posted up in this bathroom. Finally, after like 45 minutes, Fred calls me, and we're talking, and the conversation is not, I would not describe it as pleasant, because I'm saying, hey man, your players are telling me that your point guard isn't running the plays. What do you think about that? And so, like, you could just kind of hear the fuck in his voice, and like, he's not thrilled to be having this conversation, but I'd like to think that he appreciates the opportunity that I am giving him to set the record straight. This ended up being a very balanced story. It could have been, if I write this story without Fred's input, it reads completely differently, right? While we're on the phone, we get another knock at the door. I have to put Fred Hoiberg, whose time is quite literally, we have FOIA'd the contract, more valuable than mine. Hold on, Fred. I shoo away another coffee barista person. I come back to the laptop. I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty new to this beat. Fred and I need something to bond over. This is a funny situation. I think I'm going to tell him what's going on. So I recount the entire thing, complete with all the knocks and all the bathroom stuff, and on the other end, dead silence. He didn't, I might as well have been on mute. I had to check that I was on mute. He did not acknowledge that I said words. I'm just like, there was like a 3-4 second pause, and I'm just like, okay, next question. And then we talked for like 10 more minutes about basketball, and that was it. So that's a story that I've told to many people, like on the beat, that I get a lot of enjoyment out. Now, you the people also have this information. That's my parting gift to you. Thank you to everyone who has read anything that I've ever written at the World-Herald. Thank you to everyone who's ever listened to this podcast. You should continue to listen to this podcast. I don't know.
Not for me, for whoever.
For Joel, we have an idea of who's going to be. It's somebody that you guys really like that is going to be taking over for me, I think. I don't know, but I think. But please continue to subscribe, continue to buy newspapers. Joel has one in front of him. That's one of my favorite things about you, is that you still care about being in print.
My mom likes to keep them.
Keep watching the basketball. Keep reading about the basketball, and I won't, but Joel, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Hey. And keep tuning in to our LinkedIn.